Hello. Right, so in my last video, you saw me basically just do the outline of Nova Severna, the new capital city of Severna Island, the newly established former Portuguese colony island, which is now becoming the world's newest socialist state. But anyway, forget all that, because the save game that I had for that just stopped loading. It wouldn't. Anyone who knows this game knows what it's like. Sometimes a save just stops working. I'd only made the one save because it had only been, that first little bit of setting up the colony there. So I've essentially redone that, and luckily the save game seems to be working now, and I've managed to get the city quite a bit more established. So as you can see now in this video, it's essentially we're at the same stage as we were at the last video. So I've put down the water infrastructure. I've put down some civilian objects as well, so shops and things, but very, very basic, just so I can plan the town out in my head. And now the nearest sort of valuable resource to where I founded the city, it says next to the river here, up in the directions. A bit of a difficult thing, but looking at the map, I'd say this would be the northeast side of the city. Yeah, so there's a bit of oil along the shoreline of the river here. Obviously, whereas the river's cut through time, it's exposed this little bit of oil that's there. So this is what we're going to use primarily to heat the city during the winter, and also to change into convert upwards to fuel and bitumen. Bitumen can be used for many industrial applications within the Republic. You can also sell it, but it's quite a useful thing as well. And also the most useful thing, the fuel that our nation will run off. Good old fossil fuels. Just I'm being ironic, but yeah, this country will not be meeting any climate 2030 or whatever the name is. What do they call it? God, we hear it every day. It's drummed into it. It's completely gone. Anyway, so yeah, won't be signing up to that anytime soon in our parliament for now. Anyway, back on subject. I completely agree with it. Just yeah, but in the real world, but in my little world, in this fake world, yeah, I'm polluting, mate. We need to get this land developed. And so over here is like a little quarry area that used to be the former quarry site for the for when the Portuguese had the island. So we're going to build some gravel processing units there in time. So what I'm building at the moment is it's a mod refinery, which will convert the oil we have into fuel and bitumen. So you always want to connect your pipes up and have as many connections as you can realistically afford, because it is just the more versatility you have, the more options you'll have in the future when it comes to expanding or changing or modifying anything. So if you can, never just have like your factory and then the pumping station immediately down pipe fit. Always make sure you have a couple of different, just so you've got some bufferage there as well. You don't just want to suddenly run out of fuel or oil or whatever in the middle of winter when it's powering your heating systems. You always want to have a bit of extra glut in the system. So we're just so as experienced players know, you will start with 10 million rubles and $2 million. So I pretty much spent nearly half of that already just getting the basic skeleton of the city established, because you need to, before you really start moving people in. I mean, I already have people, unfortunately, because the island started with a starting population who live in the and obviously the colonists that have arrived on Severna, obviously they are at the moment living in the cold and drafty ruins of the former cities of Severna and Rio. Oh my god, I'm doing this too late now. I'm so tired. And I've recorded obviously all my footage, and now I'm watching the video back, so I find it quite hard to commentate and do the thing at the same time. I tend to just forget about the talking part. But I can put the raw footage up if people would like that, but I do find that quite difficult to do. So initially now, so as you can see, we're building the port area. So the train will bring down the fuels and resources here, and then we will export these via this port to Soviet countries. With bridges, I find aesthetically they look a lot better if you work the terrain around them. When you've just got that sort of sharp angle of the bridge coming up from ground, I just think it looks nasty. So I always do bridges like this. Bridges work with the terrain. You know, if you want to, you know, look over your city and think, yeah, this looks nice, this looks realistic, that's a big thing. You know, don't just use E to just bring the road up, or sort of modify your terrain a little bit. And it's free if you've got your construction industry set up correctly and nearby, which can be some of this quite frustrating. But groundworks aren't very expensive in the game, really, relatively speaking. You know, I've managed to found the city on 10 million, which, yeah, I think by the end of this I have pretty much spent, and I am sort of waiting on the tankers to unload their cargo in the Soviet Union, and so I get the rubles. So when you're doing your pipes and things, always remember that underground pipes are way more expensive, but it does look so much nicer, and they get in the way a lot less as well for when it comes, you know, unless the only things they can sometimes interfere with is when if you put them too close to building entrances or exit points of other infrastructure and things where they intersect, they can sometimes cause a lot of problems. So either, you know, you go deep, or you're just conscious of it. But generally, the way they look and everything is, I think, a lot better, the underground ones, but do remember they are a lot more expensive. Especially heating pipes can be quite dear as well. So here we have the port system. So again, you want your buffer tanks. So you don't want your the pumping station to take it off the train and put it straight onto the ship, because sometimes, you know, with balance, say your ship's got a little bit of fuel in it, and the bitumen train tries to unload, it's got nowhere to put it. Which then causes backups on your train networks, and when the trains start backing up and things, everybody who plays this game will know that's an issue. So you always have to keep your trains moving, make sure that they can unload their cargo and get back to where they need to go. And please try and keep your train levels, you know, the amount of trains you have running on your rail network, to an absolute minimum. You know, you need to keep your eye on it a lot. The game has improved a lot over time in regards to this, and the trains seem to be a little bit more intuitive, and you have a few more little options available to you in regards to control of the trains now that wasn't present in the earlier versions of the game. Since I bought this game, it has done nothing but improve. It's an amazing. The amount of content that's been added to this game since it was released. You know, if this was Paradox or something like that, it would have had 3 or 4 expansions. You would have had Winter expansion, would have been one of the first big ones. Then you would have had more expansions for all the little differences in gameplay that you can make. So you would have like Winter, then you would have Water, then you would, do you know? Whereas City Skylines, you know, you've got the industry pattern. You know, they do improve the game, but you're paying for them. Whereas this game, it technically hasn't even been released yet. You know, it's still in early access, and I do really look forward to when they say they're going to have new updates. They're always you know, worthwhile updates as well. It's not just, you know, they're not just aesthetic. They're not, you know, they like the heating one. So just as I was sort of starting to master the game and really start to sort of know what I was doing, bang, out come heating, and that was just added a whole new element to the game and a lot more of a like risk. You know, if you run out of coal, or you know, people quickly that, you know, you can sort of run out of food for a few days. You can, you know, lose power, and power actually would have the same effect, but you know what I mean. You can, whereas as soon as they ain't got heating or water, them's angry. So you want to get that sorted as quickly as possible, which obviously just gave the game so much more, you know, a whole new sort of thing to think about with the game, and made it way more challenging. Yeah, these little squiggly things, I do love the out tunnels. In a strange way, they do feel a bit like cheating. I know they're in the game, they're like a part of the game that is absolutely allowed, and but they are so handy to do, especially with the walking limits in this game, which do take a lot of getting used to. You know, when you play like City Skylines and things, everyone just drives around in their cars. If you've not got your public transport, everyone's got cars. In this game, you don't have that. You know, people can walk, I think it's 400 meters, but I try and limit my sort of city block sort of walking areas to about 200 meters until you've got either a bus station. See these squares right now, funnily enough, I'm actually just doing that now. I always keep to sort of 200 meters, you know, each side, so yeah, you know, area of what, 800 square meters, I guess. Is that right? I don't know, it's late. Yeah, because then you can guarantee that within that square somebody can walk from the top left corner to the bottom right corner. Whereas if you have your city blocks at 800, at the full 400, technically corner to corner, a citizen can't walk that far unless you put a bus station. Bus station is quite handy, because what you can do with them is, say you've got, you know, people will go to the bus station, wait for a bit, I think, and then if they don't go to work or they can't get a bus where they will just then walk, which gives them 400 meters from that bus station. So yeah, so you can, and also the where should workers go in the bus station options is also quite handy, because that will, people I don't think they generally wait for the buses long there, they just go straight away. So what I've done is I just put a bus station in each of the 4 corners of the city, you know, which this area will sort of become the future sort of, you know, this will be the center of the city. So that's why I always like to get these roads sort of spaced out and make sure that everything here is okay, and then we'll expand from there. So you always connect all your paths up, try and, you know, keep your paths as unbroken as possible. So just, you know, don't sort of connect them to the building next door and leave it as that. When you're coming from a bus station, make sure you get those paths connecting as cleanly to as far as possible, because then you know you're getting the most use out of that bus station. And the citizens are so as you can see in this bit here, I've connected it there to that that little subway station here, so yeah, underpass. Also, the pass, the mud paths are completely free, and they're handy to, just mark out the land, just to give you some sort of scale and something to, but don't go too mad with them, because when you are building later on, they can get in the way a bit. So we'll keep them straight, keep them near other infrastructure, so that you've still, don't have like a road and then sort of 50 meters away put the path, because then like no building's going to be able to fit in between that, and it's going to annoy you when you're putting stuff down. So always think, right, I'm going to have to put buildings here, and just think of the spacing involved in that, and whether you're going to have to disrupt some of your paths and things. And again, this is why the underpasses are so handy, because they just go straight underneath, so you are able to then have that there. Right, so yeah, just connecting up all these pathways, making sure people are able to get around, and then once you're confident that your heating plants and everything are all connected up, you can start, really building up your citizenry and their infrastructure. So yeah, so there we go. So that's sort of basic outline. So in the northeast side, we've got where all my industry is going to go around there to keep pollution centralised, and also sort of a sink of where I want all the workers to kind of end up. So here we are. So when you're ready to start introducing your people, start small, because yeah, power issues will crop up, and first sort of bedding in sessions will be quite difficult. So think where you're going to put your residential areas, and think of that walking rule as well, but then also be conscious of the pollution levels. And it will take a lot of, you'll end up having to build loads of hospitals, which will take all of your doctors and things, so they won't be working in your factories, they'll be working in your hospitals, keeping your citizens well, which is good, but try and not have that. So with power grids, I always try and keep them in circles, so you have like rings within rings within rings. Don't have like one. I mean, I've worked this out over a very, very long time playing this game, but yeah, you want to have like a system of individual grids as opposed to one big grid, because of the limits that the game puts and how much electricity can go through any one piece of infrastructure. So your high voltage wires, they're really only useful for one per city, really, which you'll have in your grid going around the outside of the city, and then your low voltage distribution networks really is your power grid. That's what's important. You can have interconnecting grids, obviously do have interconnecting grids, but don't think that you can build one like you can with like other city building games. You can build one really powerful wire and you just run your whole just connect. So as long as you connect all your power stations to that one wire, make sure it connects to all grids, you'll be alright. Whereas with this game, that isn't the case. You will have overloads, and you'll have transformers shutting down and starting up, and shutting down and starting up, and that's when all your lights flicker. You'll know a little way the game tells you this before things get serious is at night time the street lights will flicker. That shows that you've got an issue, the power's still being delivered, but you need to look at this area, something's going wrong. And then when the buildings start flickering off and things, that's when you really need to start having a look at that. So I always use the underground low voltage wires, really, because Actually, that's another thing the game didn't have when you didn't have any underground. Everything had to be above ground. Oh my god, the power grid. I used to have to like have entire like tracks that just went straight through my city that would just carry all the power grid, all the power lines in one area, because it used to do my head in having them, you know, snaking all around the city everywhere. So you have your high voltage into a transformer like this, and then you can either go straight into the if they're powering quite a high use area, then you want to really have the substations connected directly to the grid each. But then if it's a sort of low usage residential area or city area, then you can use a splitter and connect several substations to the power grid. It's just all about what your intended usage is going to be for that part of the city. If you know that the power requirements for a certain area are always going to be quite low, then you can get away with splitting it up. But if it's going to be powering things that, you know, any sort of heating plant, I mean, heating plant again, better if that's an electric plant, just connect it straight onto the grid. Don't have it through a substation, because it'll just draw all that power. But yeah, some areas you'll need multiple ones, and each power plant, you know, for an area, really you're only going to be using for the city that you're trying to power. You're only really going to be using the low voltage wires come straight out of the power plant, and then connect that up to a couple of high power ones, so then just move to like the other side of the city or things like that. But generally, yeah, you can't just run it all off one thing. So I've selected these residential buildings because I just think they look pretty. Always try and have a style for your cities. I do, you know, build a bit of a mix later on in the game, but earlier on, do what works, do what looks nice. Because I think in a lot of the way, if you're looking at your city and you're like, it doesn't really look very nice, you know, and you're not feeling it, that makes a big difference, I think. So, you know, aesthetics, you know, because that's basically all this is, isn't it? It's a like a model railway that, you know. So the whole point of it is, yeah, to make it sustainable, make it last, but also make it pretty, I think, and realistic looking as much as you can. As you can see, there's a lot of windmills in the country. One, they're just a good backup to have. You know, if your main power plant fails and all your pumps fail, that might not be able to restart up, especially earlier on when you may only have one source of power. So the windmills, they're not like great. I don't really, it's not like City Skylines. By the way, I know but it's just some of the other people are familiar with. You can click on the heat map and it will sort of show you where it's the most windy. This doesn't really have that, or if it does, I've not noted, you know, not find a way I can really work it out. But I do think either whether it's psychologically or not, but I always raise the grind, you know, only by 10 meters or so, and where I build them, because I think it also looks more realistic, you know, if they're slightly, you know, up on a hill or something like that. Looks a bit better than just sort of plonked. And also, don't plonk them in the middle of residential areas. It might be handy, but it's not realistic. Nobody lit, you know, you couldn't have that in real life. The noise would definitely be like a plane landing over their houses every day. It doesn't. I don't think it really affects in this game. I don't know whether it pisses off your citizens or not. But in real life, you just wouldn't have that. So again, it depends how real you want your cities to look. So yeah, your technical services, when you have the seasons set on, if you don't have that, then in the wintertime it will snow and all of your road traffic will slow down a lot, which if you've got trucks that are delivering vital resources to factories that are time sensitive, you know, and you've not got much slack in the system, you know, that can lead to it that sort of slightly longer it takes to get where it needs to go. That does make a difference, so be conscious of that as well. I tend to don't think I've actually set up many yet in this country, but I do tend to have sort of one of these little ones in each of the four corners of the city, so that they can all then work together and clear the snow quite quickly, instead of everything, you know. I did used to do where I had one big massive one, and then they would go out and they clean the whole city, but then I would for a long part of that they're all together, going to their individual places. Whereas if you have 2 or 3 ones with, you know, with have the same amount of vehicles but spread out in smaller technical services buildings, then, you know, all 4 corners, boom, you've got trucks, snowplows leaving that area straight away, you know. So that clears the city's roads much quicker than if you had one sort of central one that they then all had to get out of. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the winter time in the game. It's, yeah, I hate winter in real life, but I enjoy it in the game because it obviously gives that extra challenge and that extra realism. So Severna Island is coming along. So there we go. If you can see that over there, there's a few electrical issues. So let's have a look what's going on over here. I mean, I know that what it is. It'll be something being overloaded. So we're putting in a new substation over here. Some underground cables again. I mean, this is quite a long way to go, to be perfectly honest. And I'm connecting that pretty much straight to the power plant because I know that area is going to be gravel processing area, because it's the little quarry that's there. So yeah, so you can see there, clearing all the roads. Winter time. Can't wait for winter to be over and the nice greenery and everything comes back. But it is quite pretty to watch. I wish I could really fast forward through winter this quickly. See the snow plows all clearing up the roads, making it all nice. You know, sorry if it comes across like I'm rambling a bit in this video, but you know, as you can see, I don't really speak very much in videos, and I'm just kind of just going with it. Please, you know, if there's anything that you want me to go into any detail on, then you know, just give us a shout in the comments, and I can explain. You know, if I'm given a question to actually work on and answer, I'm a lot better at that than sort of explaining what I think people will need to know. You know what I mean? Perhaps not great for this, but you know, it's all a learning process. You know, I've got, you know, a lot of experience with playing this game, but absolutely no experience really of doing any sort of YouTube narration like this, or you know, tutorial videos. But obviously I do really want to do this, so I do really enjoy this game, and I want to share my love of this game with people, and also the sort of the world building aspect of it as well, with the island of Severna, and we'll see how the history unfolds. So that's going to do it for today. If there's any questions you have excuse me, about the game, then please let me know in the comments below. I'll be trying to release a video sort of maybe twice a week. I will at least aim to do one once a week, as I get suggestions and sort of learn more aspects of, you know, video editing, and you know, getting sort of the voice and what's on screen and everything lined up right, so it makes sense when I'm actually pointing something out, and maybe some little things I can do to make the videos better. If you think there's anything that I need to do, then please let me know. Any helpful criticism I will be grateful for. So yeah, like and subscribe, and see you soon. Bye bye.